And thank you for taking the time to join me today to discuss, the matters that plagued you in the media over the last decade or so, and your father, who's not here to defend himself. I know that the media has reported on innuendo, allegations, and charges. That's the whole side of the story that's out there in almost all the media. So in fairness to you, and for balance, you have the stage here today. I'll ask you some hard questions and let you answer them as you will. Let's start off with, if you don't mind, your father, he's a very competitive athlete, and he went on to the top of sport organization or sport administration and was there for a long time, 14 years with the IOC, 16 years with IAAF, which is now, of course, called World Athletics.
I correct, not 16 years. He's been vice president 23 years, and he's been president 16 years. So he spent 39 years in IAAF.
Okay, so even longer.
Oh, yeah. He's been there since Montreal, 1976.
I remember that. I was very young. Tell me from your perspective, because you're the only one who's going to have a son's perspective on Lamine Diack. What was it about him that allowed him to rise to the top of the world in sport organization? What kind of man was he?
Okay, Lamine was a man of passion, was, as you say, a competitive athlete. He was a polyvalent sportsman. He played volleyball, he played table tennis, he played basketball, he played football. He was a very good football player. And also an athlete. He was champion of France in long jump in university, but also he was in 1957, from 58, 59, just before the Olympic Games in Rome, the champion of France in long jump with 772 meter. So after being an athlete, he was also a dedicated sports leader in football. He was running a soccer club. He was technical director of the national football team, and he was also later on a minister of sports, like a sports commissioner. So he dedicated all his life to sports through passion, by participation, but also by managing different aspects of the sports in football, athletics, and also the Olympic Committee of Senegal since 1985. So that's how I can resume Lamine. He was a very generous man, very dedicated to his friends, and very loyal. I think Primo Nebbiolo, who was his predecessor in IAAF, can assess about that, because when he was sometime in critical fight with the Anglo-Saxon groups in the IAAF, Lamine was always there to back him up. He was also a good friend of Juan Antonio Samaranch, whom he traveled extensively in Africa, and I can witness that friendship. Samaranch came to celebrate one of the IOC sessions in Senegal in 2001, just before his retirement. So that's how I can resume Lamine. He was a sports leader that dedicated all his life, and all his family was also totally involved into sports.
Okay, yeah, it sounds that's a big resume. So obviously he could have retired long before he did. He worked well into his 80s there, and so he must have just had a passion and a love for sport and sport organization. And thank you for illustrating that. So I think my father was about the same age, born in 1939. So close, and was an athlete. And like most sons, you want to follow in the footsteps of your father. So you got into sport organization, or a part of it is certainly marketing with the IAAF. So what about your trajectory? Did you start out in sports as well as an athlete and work your way up? How did that go?
Yeah, I actually was first a football player and defender, and then I went into athletics as a sprinter 60 meter, 80 meter, 100 meter, 4 by 60, 4 by 80, 4 by 100. But I was very good in college sports. I did not go into club sports. I neither at the national level, neither at the Olympic level. I was just average sportsman. But I had the ability at a very young age to organize sporting events at the college, and I was able to raise funds, get administration permits and all that to get to organize sporting events at a very early age. So that's really how I can resume. And I met Peter Sprogis and Craig Thompson of ISL Marketing in 1989 during the World Cup in athletics in Barcelona, when I was checking out of the hotel, and that's how my life changed. And they asked me to come and get interview in ISL Marketing in Switzerland. At that time, I was destined to be a banker in London. I was doing some internship in a bank in London, but I left banking. I came into sports marketing as early as 1990, and I learned all my skills in sports marketing, working with those great guys in ISL, Peter Sprogis, Craig Thompson, Andrew Craig, Stephen Dixon, and Jean-Marie Weber. So, and through that training, that took me almost 6 years, I was able in 1997 to set up my own sports marketing company in South Africa in 1997 in April. That's how I definitely stayed in Africa until 2007, when my father asked me to come and join him to support him with the marketing of IAAF. But before that, most of my work, 85%, was into football marketing. I organized African Cup of Nations in South Africa, in Burkina Faso. I organized it in Mali, in Nigeria, and I also accompanied a lot of African football team to the World Cup back in 1998 with Nigeria and South Africa in Paris, and the World Cup in France, and then in 2002 I accompanied my own country, Senegal, to a legendary and historic World Cup when we beat France on the opening game of the World Cup in 2002 in Seoul, Korea. That's how, because of my work extensively in the emerging market like Qatar, I organized the FIFA World Youth Championship back in 1995. I did it also in 1999 in Nigeria. So that's basically how far I go into sports marketing. But my road crossed Lamine's career back in 1990 when we had what we call the Mobile Pan-African Athletics Project. It was involving a series of national championship in athletics plus the African Athletics Championship, sponsored by Mobil Oil Corporation, a US company. That was one of the main sponsors of the IAAF through the IAAF Mobile Grand Prix, which was what we call the Golden League. That I was involved in all that. So that's why many people don't know that I have a background in athletics working with ISL. I organized the IAAF Grand Prix final in Paris in 1994 during the IOC Olympic Congress of 1994. So Papa Jack did not come into athletics just because Lamine is his father. He was involved in athletics way before Lamine became president. He was there since 1990 in ISL marketing with great guys like Peter Sprogis and Craig Thompson.
Very well said. What is Black Tidy?
It's a company that they called a company owned by Papa Massata Diack. That's one of the first lie of the Richard Pound investigation team. They claim that I own this company, and they even use very racist term by saying it means laundering money in Hindu, which was a complete lie. It's a company owned by a guy called Yanton Tan, whom I met in China back in 2008. That's what Black Tidings means.
Oh, okay.
Company based and registered in Singapore.
part of this conversation is to allow you to answer some of the allegations in I guess you can call it the court of public opinion once it's out, if we publish this, which I hope to. Let's talk about some of those harder questions. So, here you are marketing with the IAAF, and you are part of the process in awarding world championships like the Doha World Athletics Championships or IAAF Championships when you were there. And there is allegation, and I believe a charge, I don't know what came of it, that you had personally received roughly €500,000 to allow Doha to bid or to submit their bid twice, once for the 2017 event that they were turned down for, and then the 2019, which of course they inevitably hosted. So what is your answer to that?
My answer to that is very simple. First of all, at the Paris investigation, we first noticed that WADA investigation team went beyond his mandate. A World Anti-Doping Agency has no legal background, no legal basis to investigate the awarding of World Championship. It's not in the Olympic Charter. It's not in the WADA code. It's nowhere to be seen. But by pure lies and allegations, again, just to tarnish the image of Lamine Diack, they say that he was bribed to award World Championship. Sorry, it was a process. There was an evaluation team led by Lord Sebastian Coe for the awarding of the World Championship. The first one in 2017, Doha was beaten by London because Lamine Diack supported the remaining of the track in London, because as you remember, the London track was supposed to be scrapped after the Olympics to be given to a football team called West Ham. But Lamine Diack went to England to even challenge President Jack Robb, who was saying, we're not supporting white elephants into any after the Olympic Games. Lamine supported London openly. So how can Lamine go to London, met the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and state openly in the press, I want the track to remain after the Olympics. If London bids for any World Championship, we will award it to London. After that, they say that he was bribed by Qatar to award the World Championship. That is totally inconsistent. Even Mike Lee, who was running the presidential campaign of Sebastian Coe, he's late now, of Vero Communications, he was supporting West Ham to win the right to get the football pitch. So that's what I first want to give as a historical background. As far as Qatar is involved, I want to remain very consistent with all I have said to the IAAF Council members, which I will wrote a letter on the 12th of December. I said, I work with Qatar since 1995. In football, I was a consultant of Coca-Cola, Rafik Kresati, Coca-Cola Company, and FIFA. I stayed 6 months in Qatar in 1995. Lamine was nowhere to be IAAF president. Then Qatar hosted in 2000 the IAAF Grand Prix final after the Olympic Games in Sydney. Do you remember that? So after that, Qatar had a permanent IAAF Super Grand Prix, which I'm the first one to organize it back in 1997 with Mobil Oil sponsorship. To show you, you have to know my responsibility in it, but they don't investigate. This is an opportunity to tell them who am I, how do I go back with Qatar. I don't need to be bribed by Qatar. I've been organizing events with Qatar since 1995 in football. In tennis, the ATP ExxonMobil tennis tournament, the first sponsorship agreement was signed by Papa Massata Diack as a consultant. for the title sponsorship of the tennis tournament. So my relationship with Qatar has nothing to do with Lamine or with IAAF. It goes a long way before. Qatar was beaten by London. London in 2015 was beaten by Beijing. They even withdrew because they could not guarantee the remaining of the track after the Olympics. Sebastian Coe came to look for support of President Diack to talk to his prime minister and the government and the mayor of London for the track to remain. And that's how London got the World Championship, because Doha, in terms of economic incentive, had almost a $200 million package for the IAAF to get the World Championship, and they got beaten. So how can, if we were just looking at the economic interest of our pocket, how can we decline a $200 million incentive package by Qatar in 2017? At the council meeting, in front of everybody, President Diack told them, why can't we make a compromise? If you bid, if somebody lose, he will get the next one, 2019. The guy of Qatar refused, Sheikh Saud bin Abdurrahman Al Thani, the QOC General Secretary. Then President Diack said, let's go to the vote. They lost against London. Even I heard of some brown envelope were distributed and thinking like that, and which is again something substantiated by Sebastian Coe to add the president of UK Athletics made a declaration. It was reported by Guardian. And all those allegations, there is no proof of those allegations. What you just said to me right now about $500, show me a transfer or show me a wire or a movie or a film where that such amount was given to Papa Massata Diack or to Lamine.
Hey, if we don't have it, we don't have it.
So that's why I totally reject those allegations. They are unsubstantiated. They've been reported repeatedly just to tarnish the reputation and to try to give credit to the investigation by WADA. But WADA went beyond his mandate. WADA was supposed to just investigate about corruption and doping cases in Russia. But they say awarding of Olympic Games, awarding of World Championship, sponsorship contract. Have you ever seen a federation investigated by the IOC on the sponsorship contract or the investigation? Nothing. I think the investigation that went to Paris was totally biased from the beginning. Unfortunately, Lamine did not fight it as he should have fought it. That's the only thing I can say.
Okay.
Nothing on Qatar.
So let me ask you, you posted on Twitter a handwritten letter by Sebastian Coe to your father, complimenting him before Sebastian Coe became president. Also, the media had put out at one point saying, ban Russia. And Sebastian Coe had campaigned, so it must have been around the same time, campaigned on, hey, we're not banning Russia. So he becomes president, and your father gets charged and more, and Russia gets banned. So is there a side to Lord Sebastian Coe that perhaps we don't know about that you do, based on those incidents?
First of all, he knew everything about Russia, unless what he claimed that he didn't know anything about Russia. He lied to the British Parliament with Sir Craig Ready when they said, we first heard about Russia or doping in Russia when we saw it on ARD TV show on the 6th of December 2014. So I think that's what needs to be said. Those two sports leaders need to resign. They are lying. Because
Ready and Coe.
Ready and Coe. They lied in front of the British Parliament, but nobody is ready to challenge that, because I gave you a letter sent by, I sent it on Twitter by Craig Ready, that on the 7th of November, he reported the Russian doping cases after a discussion that he had on the 19th of September 2014 with the Russian Deputy Sports Minister, Yuri Nagorny and Natalia Zelenova. So Seb Coe was reported by David Bedford, the London Marathon runner, that on July 2014, the complaint that was filed to Ethics Commission was sent to Sebastian Coe. He claimed, oh, I did not open it. I just sent it to Michael Beloff. While he said to the British Parliament, I first heard of it during the TV show. That shows to you that those guys totally use these Russian doping cases for other purposes, to tarnish Lamine Diack's reputation, to try to lay down their presidential campaign, because Sebastian Coe, as you know, declared his candidature in L'Equipe, a French magazine, on the 27th of November 2014. Just 3 days after, the same French paper was making an article, Did Russia Corrupt the IAAF? And 3 people were mentioned in that article. Valentin Barhaneshev, the IAAF treasurer, president of the Russian Athletic Federation; Habib Cissé, the lawyer of the president, Lamine Diack, French lawyer, and Papa Massata Diack. Just by pure mistake. I'm sure it's a coincidence in your language. The same paper that he used to declare his candidature, the very same paper he used to start the campaign against Russia. And on the 9th of December, in front of everybody in Monaco, Sebastian Coe was already asking for Russia to be excluded from the IAAF. And there was no investigation. He stated openly. Everybody was at the IOC session in Monaco when he declared that. So from African journalists called me and say, what's going on? Sebastian Coe is attacking Russia openly, while he was not even president. So his presidential campaign was based on this doping in Russia, and he got the help of Craig Reddy, Richard Pound, Richard McLaren, all those stupid guys that were there to just try to create the impression that Russia is the devil to be killed into this doping, anti-doping campaign. And unfortunately, they thought that we are stupid, we will not understand what they're doing. Lamine knew everything. Lamine knew what was going on. He knew that it was linked to the presidential campaign, and he knew is one of the tactics of Mike Lee, who has that reputation of going under the belt. In the UK political environment, everybody knows Mike Lee. He used to work for Tony Blair in the labor department. So I think the Russia doping case was used by Lord Coe. You saw the note that he made on his paper to Lamine, oh, we have to protect our world championship. The image of the world championship should not be deteriorated and compared to London 2012. The article were in British papers, Daily Mail, 6th of July, 2013, with Martha Kellner and Nick Harris.
He didn't have to go, would he? Right?
No. You say he was there because he was trapped by the French Olympic Committee. The French Olympic Committee trapped him. They invited him for a seminar on the 2nd of November, and he arrived on the 1st of November to be arrested in the Paris airport at the Sheraton Hotel.
Oh, so you're
that's
saying
what happens. It was a pure trap. It was just like a kidnapping of Lamine. That's what happened.
What was the seminar he was invited to?
By the French Olympic Committee, by Mr. Denis Masseglia, president of French Olympic. Now he's not the past one. He has left the Olympic Committee, but he was the guy who sent him an invitation. He sent him an air ticket, and he sent somebody to pick him at the airport.
And then they arrested him.
And they arrested him. So the French Olympic Committee is accomplice to the police in this case. So why the French Olympic Committee? Why not the French Athletic Federation? Because the French Olympic Committee, we'll talk about it, I hope, about why they did all that. It's all a setup.
So if you have all this evidence, I guess, maybe some of it's hard to find and present in court, but you have a lot of knowledge here, and I'm sure some documentation. Why didn't you go and fight the charges against you?
First of all, I'm not a French citizen. I have no French company. There is no law under me from France. I'm not a resident of France. I'm not a resident of Monaco. I'm not a law-abiding citizen. I'm not a tax-paying payer in France. Why should I go and answer to an investigation which was a pure setup and trap on something that is just based on stupid allegations? There is no preliminary investigation. There is no investigation by WADA. WADA never met Lamine Diack. Pound never met Lamine Diack. McLaren never met Lamine Diack. Gunther Junger never met Lamine Diack. Pound never met Papa Massata Diack. McLaren never met Papa Massata Diack. And they hence went to file a complaint on the 4th of August, about almost 6 months before they finished their investigative report that was completed on the 9th of November. Don't you find it strange?
Yeah.
Is there no investigation? Why should I go and answer to something which is just a pure setup? And what is also very amazing, Christopher, on this issue is they use the press extensively by leaking documents. There was investigation on FIFA by FBI. There's investigation on Jérôme Valk, the French guy, or Michel Platini. Have you ever seen a leaked document from those investigations? There's an investigation on Blatter. Have you seen any leaks of information?
No, I've only seen the allegations from whatever publication was making the allegations, or from the organization that was, so World Athletics or IAAF or whomever, ARD, TV, Guardian, right? So no, I wasn't privy to.
That shows to you that I have nothing to do with France. They set up President Lamine Diack to come to Paris. That shows to you that this guy were not serious, and they did not do an investigation. They just based on an allegation done by a Russian coach called Oleg Popov. I discussed with Nick Harris
of Lilia Shobukova, the Russian marathoner, who allegedly paid for the cover-up of her positive doping test.
But whom she paid?
Oh, allegedly, your father.
How?
I don't know how. 600,000.
No, but in penal law, in court, you come with an evidence. Is there any wire from Lilia Shobukova account to Lamine Diack or Papa Massata Diack account in court? Nothing. The French prosecutor said that 23 Russian athletes paid to an account in Singapore, yes, or in Senegal. But where are the wires? There is no single wire proven in court. Nothing. Just pure. The Russian athlete paid to a Russian coach called Alexei Melnikov. It is. I saw the court evidence. The International Regulatory Commission went to Moscow, and they did ask to the Russian and say, I paid to my coach because she said to me, I need to be protected. That's what she said. And they said, oh, they paid it to Lamine Diack. Pure stupid things. Lamine Diack never interacted with any Russian athlete, with any Russian official. He's been an athlete himself. That is against his principle of integrity. And he's been president for 16 years of the IAAF, 4 mandates. His integrity has never been questioned. And suddenly, somebody called Richard Pound, Richard McLaren, Gunther Junger, former German policeman, said, oh, he's corrupted. We've got proof of allegations. They want to drop a case at the court in Paris. Where are these declarations of Eliane Oulet, the French prosecutor, on the 14th of January at the WADA press conference in Munich? Where are the proof? After 5 years of investigation, Christopher, there is no one single proof of payment by Russian athlete to an account owned by Papa Massata Diack or Lamine Diack. Nothing. Just pure fabrications of the French prosecutors, of WADA, and pure lies, period. We cannot call it, and we're challenging it in court because there is no proof of any payment to anybody close to Lamine Diack. Nothing.
Can I ask you something? Yes. You had implied or inferred, I guess, that you have some explosive information. Let me give you a scenario. This is a little bit off the beaten track of what we're talking about, but if you look at, you posted the top sprinters, 9 of the 10 top male 100-meter sprinters were implicated in some way to do with performance-enhancing drugs. So on that, the fastest sprinter is Usain Bolt at 9:58. The fastest marathoner, 2:01:39, is Eliud Kipchoge. And then, of course, the fastest woman is Bridget Koski at 2:14:04. Nobody anywhere is suggesting any of them could be guilty of doping, except for maybe somebody anonymously posting stuff up because they're doing it for entertainment purposes. But everyone else seems to be potentially dirty. So what do you make of that? That everyone gives the very fastest a free pass. I certainly don't think they look dirty either, but they certainly get a free pass. Why is that?
I think why I posted this is none of those guys that they mentioned are from Russia, but I've never heard of investigation commission that was formed after the Balco affair. WADA did not put an investigation team like the one they did with McLaren, Pound, and Gunter Junger. Why? Because Pound was protecting the U.S. Negotiation with the NBC. And he said openly, I'm not going to compromise the interests of the Olympic movement. When they asked
so you have the fastest as your goose that laid the golden egg, so to speak, and you don't want to, that old nursery rhyme.
I think in February 2015, Craig Reddy and Sebastian Coe were campaigning in Jamaica. I published something from the Gleaner. They arrived in February 2015 in the presidential campaign. Craig Reddy supporting. Do you think he will come and ask for Usain Bolt to be one of the ambassadors of Sebastian Coe campaign? At the same time, WADA to launch an investigation on Jamaica? So it doesn't make sense.
Burning a bridge.
And both all those countries are from the Commonwealth. So the Commonwealth country don't attack a Commonwealth country. But it's easy to attack Russia or to attack Ethiopia or attack Kenya or attack Morocco or Greece. But nobody will attack a Commonwealth country under the guidance of Sir Craig Reddy, who's paying for the investigation.
So let me ask you then, when you suggest that Russia, I mean, there's overwhelming evidence. You've got Dr. Gregory Rodchenkov writing the Rodchenkov affair, and you have the young whistleblowers writing the Russian affair, and you have the documentary to do and hidden camera footage. I mean, you can't get any hotter evidence than that. So would you suggest that Russia does not have or has not had systematic doping at any time?
I totally reject that statement made by Mr. Professor McLaren, where he said 1,000 athletes in 30 sports were involved into systematic doping scandal in Russia. It means that all 30 sports federations involved never investigated Russian athletes at their World Championship. That's what he's meaningfully saying. Why? They resume it to only Russian athletes. If you look at the statistics of WADA, there is a lot of doping cases in the US. There is a lot of doping cases in Europe, in Belgium, in France, in Italy, in Spain. So where are the sanctions against those countries? Spain was bidding for the Olympic Games in 2016, in 2020, Madrid. They have never been stopped of bidding because of their legendary Dr. Fuentes case. So there is a double standard That's why I don't believe in what McLaren and Pound are saying. I don't believe it. The investigation was not thorough. They never access to the doping files of Russia on time of their investigation before banning Russia. They did it afterwards when Russia cooperated and sent the document, the whatsoever the doping cases for them to investigate. But how can you exclude a country preventively without doing a proper investigation? That's what the method that Russia admitted that they do have doping problem. But now, after being excluded, after being banned from everywhere in all this investigation, explosive investigation, how come Russia terminated in good standing at the Rio Olympic Games? How come Russia terminated good in Pyeongchang at the Olympic Games? How come Russia terminated in good standing in Tokyo? And you're telling me they're doped. So I don't believe in those statements. All big nations have doping problems. USA used to have it in the 90s.
I think the key word, though, is systematic. So you have
systematic. We have the same problem in Kenya. Kenya had a lot of doping cases, but it doesn't mean it's systematic. Individual cases, I can believe. But we started with 23 cases back in 1995 with the investigation. Suddenly, in 2016, Mr. McLaren come and say 1,000 athletes in 30 sports. And people just buy into it. Oh, yeah, he's right. Everybody in Russia is doped. No, come on. It means that no sports federation in the world has been doing doping tests for 5 years. Nobody. It's impossible, Christopher. 30 sports means all the sports admitted a Russian doped athlete. That's what they're saying. I'm sorry, it's a pure lie. In London 2012, there was a doping test done in everybody. IAAF has been doing most doping tests than any other sports federation in the world.
So here's a question.
The budget of the IAAF in doping was not matched even by FIFA, by any international federation. And they had a medical department composed of 12 competent people that was given the right to investigate. Now, just because of 1 or 2 cases, you make an investigation team of 10 people, you spend $1.5 million of water money to investigate just for 3 people. Why didn't you do it for Balco? Why didn't they do it for Fuentes? So it's a double standard. I think there's other motives behind this Russia anti-doping campaign. It's not just a sports motive or medical motive. I think there is some political motive into it.
Okay, so with the whistleblowers in exile in the U.S., writing the 2 books, and the video footage, and the firings, and the data manipulation from the mainframe computer, and all that went on, is that standard of cheating doesn't appear to be anywhere else. It seems to be systematic.
I wish they would have done the same work with the Nike Oregon project and Salazar.
Well, he's not coaching anymore.
But no, because he's a friend of Sebastian Coe. They find a way of sneaking him out, look at another motive, like they did in Lance Armstrong case. But why that thorough investigation is not done in Nike Oregon project? Because it touched some Mo Farah and some British athletes that were training with him. So
is he clean?
You should not do double standards. Like when I heard this Paula Radcliffe claiming all of the anti-doping, she had doping cases. She knew. I tweeted it something. I said to her, publish your athlete biological profile. You came to Monaco to ask for Lamine Diack clearance. We knew that they came there. So why did she came there? Why didn't they publish it? Because it would have destroyed co-presidential campaign. Right now, British have lost the medal, the silver medal in the 4x1 meter, 100 meter in Tokyo. Okay, but nobody talk about it. So because of one marathon runner from Russia, you make a big international campaign, investigation team by WADA. Craig Reddy spent 1.4 million euros of WADA cash strapped organization just to launch an investigation on one athlete. At the Paris court, there was one athlete, Lilia Shobukova. Where are the 22 others? Where are they? They disappear suddenly. Oh no, we don't
Hey, in
have
all
evidence.
fairness, there's going to be people out there saying, what about the 3.45 million euros that was allegedly paid out to your father over the years, which should be
It's a pure lie. Where
pure lie.
are they paid? Where are they paid? To whom? Listen,
Yeah, no, good question. Good question.
when you go to court, you bring either a picture, a photo, or a film. Like they say, hidden camera. You say in the WADA or in the books that were produced, they have hidden camera. Where is the hidden camera? They said there is one guy called Andrei Baranov, who was the manager of Lilia Shobukova. He claimed, Christopher, that he met me. He saw me in the lobby of the hotel on the 4th of December 2012. On the 4th of December, I was in Monaco signing my agreement with SR Gabriel. And okay. I arrived in Moscow on the 5th, and he said he saw me on the 4th. It was one of the case. Even Michael Beloff, the chairman of the Ethics Commission, they asked me, you've been involved in a meeting on the 4th of December. I said, but here's my passport. My passport shows that I arrived in Moscow on the 5th of December at 1950. How can I be the same person on the 4th of December to a meeting in Moscow?
That's how fast you are.
That's how stupid they are, and how very tricky this investigation has been. It's just built on manipulation of media, on pure lies, and people decided to shut up. Lamine, very fair and very sportsman, says, no, let them investigate. Let's be cool. I said, no, not me. Me, I can defend myself. I've got evidence that I gave to the investigation when they came to Dakar. I gave them all those papers. I showed that this report on the doping cases in Russia was done by Nick Davis. He told me about the doping cases. Nobody else. Jan Bulter, his wife, worked for the doping department. She came to tell me 6 people were targeted. And suddenly, we saw those 6 people in the letter from Mr. Reddy. We just saw a chart showing that 6 people, the very same 6 people, pay some sums of amount of money. But to whom? To whom, Christopher? At the court, I was expecting a bank wire transfer because the French government Minister of Finance is involved, TRACFIN. My bank account is in a bank, a French bank, Société Générale. So there's no money that can come into my country without France knowing it. Where are the wires? What the prosecutor said on the 14th of January, saying that some athlete paid $3.4 million was a pure lie, pure. And at the court, my lawyer will defend me, and it will be clear because there is no proof of those payments, just pure allegations. Like there was allegation on $6 million paid for television contract for the broadcasting of the 2013 World Championship. When they came to Dakar, I showed them the letter. Tomorrow I publish it, that letter in Twitter. It is a letter from the Russian television that say we are agreed to pay $1.2 million for the rights. I show it to the investigator. They say, oh, then it shows that what was given, that $6 million, where does it come from? And the contract was negotiated by the General Secretary of the IAAF. So where is Lamine Diack involvement? Where is Papa Massata Diack? The letters, the email between Vitaly Mutko, the Minister of Sports, chairman of the organizing committee of the World Championship, and SR Gabriel, it was exchanged. I gave all those evidence to the investigator. But at the court, those papers disappeared.
Hey, what did your father call you a thug in court? Did he not know the meaning of the word?
He never said that. He said, if what you say, what you claiming he did it, he acted like a thug. He never called me a thug.
Oh, okay.
He never said that. But that's again that media manipulation. they try to use sensational headings because their investigation was empty, zero. They have no evidence whatsoever about what Pound and McLaren took to French court. And at the court, the name of Pound and McLaren disappears. They say Anthony Hooper, a British lawyer, filed a complaint at the French court. Anthony Hooper has nothing to do with WADA. He's the investigator of the IAAF Ethics Commission, chaired by a British lawyer called QC called Michael Beloff. Anthony Hooper has nothing to do with WADA, has nothing to do with the WADA investigation team. But at the court on June 2020, they say, oh, WADA president, bracket, Anthony Hooper, filed the complaint. So the name of Pound disappeared. So I published on Twitter immediately the letter Pound to the prosecutor on the 4th of August. That's what I am saying to you. I could have done this interview long ago. But for me, oh, that's not necessary. We'll go to court. At the court, all these allegations will come with a proof. Because after 5 years of investigation, after returning Lamine for 5 years, 7 months in Paris, there is no evidence. Oh, suddenly, oh, there is some allegations. Oh, email. Email is not a proof. You have to get hard evidence when you accuse somebody of being corrupted. You have to get
what you're doing here is you're putting it incumbent upon them, all the above that you've mentioned and that I've mentioned, to come up with some proof for these allegations. It's now in the public domain, or can be in the public domain if we publish this, which again I hope to.
Okay, you've got my consent to publish this. Otherwise, I would have not accepted the interview.
No, I appreciate
that. And I'm not
want to be straight up with you, right?
Of anything, because at the court in France, my lawyers are still here. They will be there, my lawyers, with all this evidence, of course.
Okay, so I wanted to give you your day in court, so to speak, public opinion, and not tarnish it with my own perspective or investigative journalism, because some balance has to be provided and hasn't been, as far as I can tell. Everything's been from the perspective of those who make the allegations. And in all fairness, it does look like there's a lot of evidence against you and your father, but you've made some pretty big statements, and I think it's incumbent upon those who you name to come up with some evidence and I don't have a dog in the fight.
Everything I said has come up with an evidence. They delayed the prosecution, the trial of 6 months. It was supposed to take place on the 13th of January 2020. They delayed it to June 14, 2020. They say they have to look at the papers and evidence submitted by Papa Massata Diack after they came to Dakar. They spent 2 days in Dakar. They had all my files. All the prosecutor's files were sent. I gave evidence that Sebastienko knew about everything. I showed them emails sent by Nick Davis about co-acceptance to go to Russia to make a press conference. I showed them pictures. I gave all those evidence, but they did not use it at the trial. They did not use it. They just put it aside because it destroyed all the allegation, and they need to go to a trial because they cannot keep somebody for 6 years and just don't go to trial. I gave all those evidence, so I'm all those files and my evidence are in the French prosecutor case. They have it. But
and you're appealing this, right? Am I right?
Of course.
When's that going to happen? Do you know?
I don't know, end of the year, but definitely. This matter, I will follow it all my life. There's definitely no way I'm going to make any compromise to the IAAF, the IOC, or WADA on their allegation against me or my father. My father is late now. His action is over. But for as far as I'm concerned, everything it will take to clear this matter, we will do it. It means a 10 years fight. It will be a 10-year fight. But there is no compromise.
Your family fought pretty hard to get your father out of French prison to come home to spend his last time in Senegal, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it was something that needed to be done. Since France didn't want to have any humanitarian attitude, Sepp Blatter is in the investigation for 5, 6 years. He's still moving around. Michel Platini has been free to investigate. Even the French president Sarkozy has been condemned. He's got many court cases, but he's still flying all over. He's in the board of many. So I think the attitude of French was just a racist attitude because of black people. They don't like us. They're treated like a piece of shit. But as far as I'm concerned,
they don't like Russians either. The Russians are white.
and they don't like Arabs. They don't like Nasser Al-Khalifi of the Paris Saint-Germain of QSI. They accuse him of being a corrupter. And the very same guy is the chairman of UEFA of UEFA clubs committee, and is also the chairman of Paris Saint-Germain. So, but nobody touched French citizen, nobody touched American citizen, nobody touched Canadian citizen, nobody touched British citizen. Everybody else is corrupted except we the white guys. That's what is the reality of this matter.
I don't know. White people are getting busted. I mean,
I've not seen it often. I've not seen it often. I'm in sports marketing for 30 years, Christopher. I'm not a young chap anymore. I know what's going on sports politics. It's a double standard.
Okay. So when we go back to the question of remember the 9 and the 10 top sprinters are implicated, but the fastest isn't, Usain Bolt. And many marathon. Wilson Kipsang is a good example. Won some marathon majors, won the series of 1 year, won New York, gets busted. But Kipchoge and Bekele don't, and they're 201.39, 201.41. And again, I'm not a fan of theirs. I think they're great athletes. But how is it that the top are they're not white? And they're the top athletes, and they're not. Is it about the case of the golden goose? They don't want to, the goose who lays the golden egg, they don't want to disturb that?
I don't think so. Christopher, I was in 2002 in Kingston, Jamaica, during the World Junior Championship. I was there for 17 days. I was with Natalie, one of my colleagues in the IAAF, coming to help there. I saw Usain Bolt running all the series, the semi-final and the final. I saw a future Olympic champion at the young age, and they got fortunate to have a high performance training center that was financed by Lamine Diack. Lamine Diack helped all those countries in the Caribbean by having a high performance training center in Kingston. And they got trained by the local coaches, and this guy did a great job over the years. Nobody can question.
That's true. You know what? That is one thing.
I saw
fast all his life.
the same with Amin Cham, which is a 400-meter runner in Edmonton. She won the gold medal. She was trained here in Dakar by a French coach called Hervé Stéphan. So she won after so many years of sacrifices. We cannot accuse those people of being dumped. Those guys, they sweat their ass for many years to get to where they are. They come from poor background. They wanted to make an impact. Now, after making this impact, nobody can question their integrity, saying that they are the golden goose. Nobody want to investigate them. No, sorry. Usain Bolt has been tested 200,000 times all over the world by all meetings. Nothing can be said about Usain Bolt. He was a raw material. something that was really meant for athletics, and it was something which we all should celebrate as a legend and nobody should question. Look at what happened to Justin Gatlin. Look at what happened to Tyson Gay. Look at what happened to Marion Jones. We have
They
so
did
many.
test, well, Marion didn't test positive, but the other two did.
Yeah,
Gatlin and
all of
Gay.
no, Mariano was even sacked, I think, and went to jail. So I think all countries have their own problems. At certain time, it was many American athletes that were caught for doping, but nobody said USA should be excluded from the World Championship. Nobody. USA had but they set up US ADA, National Anti-Doping Agency, in order to fight it. My father, when he met Putin for the first time in 2006, he said to him, Russia have problem with doping. You should set up a national anti-doping agency. I was there at the meeting when they met on November 26 or 27, 2006. He mentioned it to Putin face to face. And they helped many countries to set up their own national anti-doping agency with Dr. Dole and Professor Dr. Shamash of the IOC. One of the best doping experts was Vice President of the IAAF, Professor Arne Lundqvist. He was the chairman of the IOC Medical Commission. So you can tell me that with all those people, nothing has been done? No, sorry. I don't trust what McLaren and Pound are saying. They have other political agenda to just destroy Lamine Diack and set up, put Sebastian Coe at the helm of the IAAF. I think that was the only political agenda behind all this nonsense.
Okay. Hey, so you know what? I think you've given me a lot of time, and I appreciate that. So as a last word, I'll give it to you. Is there anything that you would like to add to this? Any commentary about the upcoming appeal or the state of athletics at this time, or the governing bodies? Any commentary you'd like to make?
No, first of all, I'd like them to just try to focus on developing the sports of athletics instead of trying to look at dirty side of the sport in order to run a political agenda. Since Lamine Diack left, a lot of countries don't have athletic meeting anymore because there is no development funds available. Lamine Diack was making it possible. So that's what athletics should focus on, growing the sports rather than running a political agenda against Russia. It's a waste of time. They should go to India, where there's 1.4 billion people, to try to grow the sports. Sebastian Coe's Maada is from India. Nothing on India. They should go to China, 1.3 million people, 1 billion people, and try to develop the sports. They should go to Indonesia, Malaysia. Asia is the future of our sports. But nothing. Just on the press, Russia. Listen, athletics has no good figures in television anymore. The Golden League in Africa, the Diamond League, we cannot see it anymore. Nothing. So the work is there. The work is not, you cannot be president from 2015 to 2022, 7 years at the helm. You only have 5 sponsors. And all sponsors are from Japan. Only one sponsor is from, see, it's true.
Listen, I've taken enough of your time, and you've been generous with it, so I appreciate that. And I thank you.
You're welcome.
And have a great day, rest of your day. Hey, how many languages do you speak?
Me, I speak 5.
5. So English, French, Spanish?
Arabic, Spanish, Arabic, and Swahili. And my mother tongue.
See, in North America, we speak 1, maybe 2.
Me, I speak 5. I've been traveling around the world from 1974 to 2016. So I've been going over 120 countries. So I've traveled the world.